traced fully 13 out of all of the 40 U.S. presidents at the time as having a direct bloodline connection to European nobility. In 2012, a 12-year-old girl named Brigitte d'Avignon actually did a much more complex genealogical study of the U.S. presidents using the power of the internet and computers.
On the School Watch tonight, the story of a 7th grader from Salinas who claims to have made a major discovery about President Obama. She and her grandfather say that President Obama is related to all but one U.S. president.
And she found that 42 out of 43 U.S. presidents all had a common ancestor in King John I from England. And this is not just any old king. This is the guy who actually chartered the Magna Carta, which became the defining element that turned into the British Constitution.
D'Avignon says she spent countless hours on the internet over the summer researching the lineage of our presidents, a project that started with her trying to trace her own family tree.
But I'm the first historian to do all the presidents.
So that's almost all of the U.S. presidents that we've ever had. The bottom line is these people are tracking their lineage, they're tracking their bloodline, and they're making sure that their own people get steered into the positions of the highest power and influence worldwide, including the United States of America.
Within secret societies,
33rd degree Freemason and Black nobility president Franklin Delano Roosevelt had this symbol printed on the dollar bill from 1933. It was a symbol of secret societies in Europe long before anyone heard of the United States, and it is awash with Freemasonic and secret society symbolism going back to the ancient world. Notice the symbology and numerology used on the dollar bill. The most obvious symbol is the Illuminati pyramid with the hovering, all-seeing eye in the capstone.
I say to the Americans, have you seen these seals before? They say, no. I say, but they've been on your dollar since 1933. How come you've never seen them? They're Illuminati seals, which was a secret society set up in 1776 by a man called Adam Weishaupt, according to the Encyclopedia Britannica. Now, Weishaupt was an ex-Jesuit priest who had an aim, was to put Lucifer on the throne of the world. And on the back of the dollar here, you see the seal on the left-hand side, and there's an eye in the triangle, which many Americans presume to be the eye of God, but it's not. It's the eye of Horus in Egyptian mythology, now called the eye of Lucifer or Satan. Now, we can establish that fact because the God that we serve does not have one eye. Of course, he's not a cyclops. It says the eyes, plural, of the Lord run to and fro throughout the earth. Anybody who is familiar with witchcraft will know that that eye, when you open it a little bit, is the eye of psychic knowledge. When you open it completely and it is illumined, as this one is, it is the eye of Lucifer himself, who is the god of Freemasonry, the god of witchcraft, and the god of the occult or esoteric practice. Then you have the 13 layers of stone on the pyramid, and people should be asking the question, what is an Egyptian pyramid doing on the back of an American dollar? What link-up is there between America and Egypt? The answer is none at all, except in the field of the occult. And I discovered that the 13 layers of stone there stand for the 13 layers in Freemasonry, which is very much involved in this plan to set up the Novus Ordo Seclorum, which is a one-world government. Then you have at the bottom 1776. The date was May the 1st, when the Illuminati was inaugurated in Bavaria, not July the 4th, the Declaration of Independence, as many Americans presume. The two words at the top, Annua Chaptus, stand for announcing the birth of, and down the bottom, Novus Ordo Seclorum. The word novus in Latin stands for new. The word ordo means order, and the word seclorum is where we get our word secular from, the absence of God. And thus we see that eye cannot be the eye of God, for why would he be setting up a new system, complete world government, with the absence of himself as being in power? And thus we see we're dealing with a Luciferian plan. On the other side, we have the so-called American eagle, which we discover is not an eagle at all. According to the witchcraft people, that is a phoenix. And the phoenix, as we all know, was a mystical bird that rose out of the ashes of the Tower of Babel.
This dollar bill has value because it is based on your physical body. Your flesh and blood body backs up the authority of this money. If you're an American, this money is backed up by your body. Now let me show you how. When you look at the front of the dollar bill, you will see on each side are serial numbers for this particular dollar bill, are serial numbers. If you look on the back of your Social Security card, you will see the numbers on the bottom. The numbers on the bottom, usually in red, represent your blood on the New York Stock Exchange. It represents your physical body. That's why the numbers are in red, representing your blood. Now, when you take the numbers on the Social Security card and put it next to the serial numbers on the dollar bill, you will see it's the same sequence of numbers and letters. And so what it's actually telling you is that there's like whatever the amount is, 24 million or 4 million or $6 million, whatever it is that your body is worth on the New York Stock Exchange, there's that much money out there all over the world in fives and tens and hundreds with your Social Security number on it. So these numbers line up exactly correct the same way. The numbers can be in blue, black, or red. And so this is why we, years ago, we used to say the government is just going to beat you black and blue. Because black and blue are colors that are used in banking. You have to sign with a blue or black pen. Or you can sign with a red pen, which represents your blood. And then you get into the esoteric symbol. On the dollar bill side with the pyramid has 13 layers. There are 13 layers in the pyramid. There are 72 stones on the pyramid. The pyramid has an all-seeing eye that's not touching the pyramid. Above it, it has the letters in Latin says Annuit Coeptis. Basically, Annuit Coeptis simply means our enterprise or our project now is a success. What project? What is it that's a project that's now a success? On the bottom, it says Novus Ordo Seclorum. Novus is a novice, meaning new. Ordo as order, and Seclorum as secular, which means of the world. It's secular. It's a secular project, and it seems to be working. So our project is now a success. What? The new order of the world. When you hear people talk about the New World Order, it's on the American dollar bill, New World Order. And it's based on what? It's based on the ancient Egyptian concepts of government, finance, law, and the way the ancient Egyptians understood the world at large. That's why you have a pyramid. Now, interesting, the word pyramid comes from, it's actually two words. A lot of people don't know this. Pyramid is two words put together, pyra, mid. Pyra is fire, like pyromaniac. Pyrotex is fire. And mid simply means middle. So you put the two together, it becomes pyramid, or the fire in the middle. This is why today, when you go into public buildings like restaurants and hotels, you will see the restrooms for male and female, right? And on the male restrooms, all over in the public, will always be a pyramid. It's always a triangle or a pyramid on a male restroom. Women's is always a circle on the women's. Why? Because the pyramid is fire in the middle. And so the idea was that the fire of sex is in the middle of the human body. And so the women are also involved with this. They're called the circle of life. They keep the circle of life going. Without the women, there's no children. You'll see around the pyramid, you will see a circle, and that symbolizes the sun. And that symbolizing the sun has to do with Stonehenge. Stonehenge seems to be connected to the Great Pyramid of Egypt because they've used the same identical measuring inside Stonehenge as they used in the pyramid. The connection between Stonehenge and the Great Pyramid of Egypt, not all the pyramids, only that one pyramid called the Great Pyramid. That's not the big one in the middle. That's the one just before it, is actually called the Great Pyramid. And that Great Pyramid uses what is called the pyramid itch. It has to do with what the Egyptians called the sacred cubit. But that's another story. But the pyramid inch is used in the pyramid and in Stonehenge. This eye in the pyramid is representing the Egyptian sun god. The eagle, of course, represents the sun, and of course, on one side, we see that there's 32 feathers in one wing of the eagle and 33 on the other wing. 32 and 33 are Masonic numbers, the 32nd degree and then the 33rd degree. And of course, when you're going into court, they're going to give you the 3rd degree. And so showing that the courts are all Masonic construction to start with. So if you're not a Mason, you need to stay out of court. You better find out what you're doing when you go into court, and they're going to give you the 3rd degree. You will see 13 stars above the eagle's head, but the 13 stars are in the configuration of what we call the Star of David. Now, it's actually a 6-pointed star, which is a hexagram. We call it the Star of David, but that is not correct. Actually, in point of fact, it's called the Star of Saturn. And look it up in the encyclopedias, and you will see a 6-pointed star has always been referred to as the Star of Saturn. But Saturn plays a very big part today in the world religions. The 13 stars, there are 13 arrows, there are 13 berries and leaves, there are 13 strips on the eagle's chest, or the original American flag. The tail of the eagle has 9 feathers. There's a reason why. 9 is very important to the secret societies of Freemasonry coming out of the Vatican. The Vatican Freemasonry, York and Scottish Rite Freemasonry, they all realize that there's something very important about the 9 feathers, because the tail feathers of a bird help it direct its flight. It can decide where it wants to go according to the tail feathers. The reason why this is important, because if you look up the history of the Knights Templar, they were referred to as the Knights of the Temple of Solomon. Today it's in the Wailing Wall, is the Knights of the Temple of Solomon, is at the Wailing Wall. But if you look up in the dictionaries or encyclopedias the history of the Knights Templars, today what is called Knights Templars, we in America today call them the international bankers. The banking elite, like the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and all of these international elites, all are referred to in law as Knights Templars. But the bottom line on this is that if you look up the history of the Knights Templars in encyclopedias, it will tell you that this Knights Templars were founded by 9 men. 9 men founded the Knights Templars. And then they will give you some story about how these 9 men got together after the Crusades, once the Holy Land was protected under the Pope's dominion, and that there were so many people wanted to go to the Holy Land. It was very dangerous traveling in those days in the desert to go see the Holy Land. Those 9 men got together, the reference works say, and they formed a protection for the pilgrims going from Rome and from Europe over to the Middle East. Well, logic alone would tell you 9 men are not going to protect anybody. They're not going to go and protect all the millions of pilgrims going to the Middle East with 9 men. That was a cover story. Well, the actual story is that the Knights Templars were 9 Catholic Masonic Order Freemasons who were putting together for the Vatican a whole new superstructure of money and banking and government, and the entire operation was under the Vatican control, and there were 9 men who were in charge of that project of rebuilding a new order in Europe. And so that's why the eagle has the 9 tail feathers. And most of the members of secret societies know that. If you bring this up, they'll tell you, yeah, well, there was those 9 men who protected the pilgrims. No 9 men could do that.
The highest achievement of the Luciferian agenda is hidden in plain sight on the back of the US $1 bill. The cluster of 13 stars above the so-called eagle form a hexagram. Hexagrams are used in occult practices to conjure spirits. The eagle is really a phoenix, as described in Volume 1, and has points which combine with the top hexagram to form a third hexagram. When combined with the first hexagram, which points to the descrambled letters M-A-S-O-N, or Mason, the final element in the hidden proof is revealed. The back of the US dollar bill is really the geometric representation of the number of the beast, or 666. The back of the US dollar bill, therefore, proclaims the number of the man of sin who will set himself up in the yet-to-be-built third temple on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, proclaiming himself to be God.